Friends, welcome to tonight's episode of Diner Talks with James. I'm James. What's going on? Good to see you. Thank you so much for coming out, y'all. I'm wearing this old school flannel. I've had this shirt for about 11 years. Some of you are like, we know. We saw you when you bought it in college. College was more than 11 years ago, too. Let's not talk about that. But friends, I'm so excited that you are here. Welcome to the next episode, episode 11, y'all. Pew, pew. No one does that for the number 11. But let's jump in for tonight's top three. Here we go, y'all. I played golf today because Tina's grandfather said, I want to play golf. And when the other person's grandfather says, I want to play golf, gosh darn it, you go and play golf, friends. We're not going to talk about how I played, but it brought up my top three golf memories that I've ever had in my life. Number three is I got to play 36 holes out in Oregon at a place called Bandon Dunes. And I was only supposed to play 18, but the people I was playing with were like, yo, we're going back out for another round. You want to go? And we got to play into the sunset at some of the most gorgeous golf courses in the cliffs of Oregon. It was extremely gluttonous, extremely beautiful, and just a memory that I will always have. Shout out to Mom and Dad being on the call. What's up, Mom and Dad? Good to see you. Appreciate you being here. That's number one. Or number three, I don't know how to do this. The middle one is I got a hole in one at my home golf course when I was in high school. That's right, West Sable Golf Course, number two. Hole was playing about 136 yards into the wind. I hit a pitching wedge and dunked it, y'all. Let's get it. That's amazing. I don't know where the scorecard is. I have no proof of it. I forgot to submit it to the PGA. Anyway, everything's fine. But trust me, it happened because I bought the drinks afterwards. And next, my favorite golf memory of all time, this happened 2 years ago, almost to the day, is that my whole family got to go to Scotland. And now my dad told me about this. He said, James, your mother and I have decided that we're planning our 70th birthday trips, and we're really excited about it. We're going to go to Scotland, and I'm going to get to play the old course at St. Andrews, the first golf course that was ever created. And I said, sounds good, Dad. I'll be there. He said, sounds good, James. You weren't invited. So I said, cool, yeah, but I'm going to be there because I'm going to need that memory with you. Because, you're not allowed to die, so, don't. But just in case you do, I'm going to need to know that I was there for one of the most special days of your life. It will therefore become one of the most special days of my life. My brothers were able to join us. It was literally my dad's dream foursome, playing the old course in Scotland on a beautiful day with hysterically Irish caddies, Scottish caddies, not Irish caddies. That would be even more weird, but it was a really magical moment. Top three golf memories. Next, I was asked, what are my top three favorite concerts that I've ever been to? Top three favorite concerts. Here we go. First off, I did an internship in Berkeley, in California, in between my 2 years of grad school. I was out there for my birthday. My birthday is July 19th, coming up. No, I don't want you to celebrate it because I'm awkward about my birthdays. We could talk about that later. But I decided to scalp tickets, not poach tickets. That would be like shooting tickets illegally. But I scalped tickets from, I've never done that before, but I went to go see Gnarls Barkley. They're the ones that sing, well, I've been driving downtown with the girl I love, but doo-doo, oh, fuck you. Anyway, so we know that one. But y'all know that track. So I got to go out there, but it was funny because they came out on the stage and they said, we're very sorry Gnarls Barkley is unable to be here tonight, but unfortunately we have Sam Cooke and the Chefs. And out came the entire Gnarls Barkley group wearing chef's attire. They had the backup singers were dressed like servers, and the Gnarls Barkley and Danger Mouse had the chef's hat on. They passed out free donuts to everybody, and they opened with Duran Duran's Hungry Like the Wolf. Amazing memory. Next, I saw Jay-Z and Eminem perform at Yankee Stadium. It was the first concert ever in the brand new Yankee Stadium. They brought out all sorts of guests. It was incredible. Jay-Z, as you remember from last week, the number one rapper of all time in my book. And last but not least, my whole family, we got to go see Bob Dylan and Paul Simon perform at my favorite concert venue, which is called Jones Beach in Long Island. My whole family is a diehard Paul Simon family, and so we're super excited to have that memory as well. Last but not least, my friends, the top three things that are still happening. First off, COVID-19. Don't know if you've caught the memo, y'all. Please wear a damn mask. Thank you. All right. Number two, something else that's still happening. Black lives still matter, okay? They still matter. All right. We're not talking politics right here. We're talking about humanity. Okay, cool. Thanks. Okay, great. Cool. And also, the other thing that's still happening is Karen is still talking. Karen, I just need you to sit down. Okay. All the Karens in the world. All right. Take a seat. My friends, that's tonight's top three. Top three. Thank you for tuning in. Let's get to the show today. Tonight on the show, we have a great man. His name is Tom Krieglstein. Don't worry about how to spell the last name. I still don't know either. But he is an exceptional human being with even better hair. And more than that, for me, I think I've told you this on this before, and if I haven't, for me, I pick my mentors based on individuals that are about 3-4 years ahead of me in the game, because the breadcrumbs that they're still leaving haven't disintegrated. And I love that the way this man carries himself as a human being. I love the way he carries himself as a speaker, as an entrepreneur. And he is just a consistent wealth of sage advice and great laughs. And he always takes me out for food that I've never eaten before in my life. And he's just an awesome human being. Y'all, clap it out for the one and only Tom Krieglstein.
James,
what's up, buddy?
I was just gonna freeze and hold it so that you thought that I was frozen to start the show off on a down slope, because then you know what? You can only go up from there.
You can. Yes.
That's like It's like when I step on stage, I purposefully trip, tumble over the stage, knock the mic down, break the speaker system, start a fire, so that when I get on stage, like, honestly, anything I say from that moment forward is automatically better than how I entered stage.
It's automatically gold.
Kids, if you're listening now, start your exputations low and work up from there.
That's it. Exactly.
Life lesson number one.
Yep,
We're going to rattle them off tonight.
Two motivational speakers telling you, keep yourself in your shame holes for a little while longer, because that incubation period is really going to pay off.
Yeah. James, I know you have some questions here, and we're going to dig into the talk, but I realize it's diner talk. So I don't know about you, but I'm actually at a diner right now, and they just delivered my coffee. So I'm just going to have a little sip. Cheers to that. Cheers. It's funny. This one says new mommy. Too blessed to be stressed. I don't know. This is a unique diner we're in here, but let's just go with it.
Exactly.
And I'm pretty sure, and sorry, one more thing is I'm pretty sure appetizers just got served too, because here's my soup.
Look at you.
But please carry on with the show.
Yeah, for sure. What kind of soup are we indulging in right now, Tom?
Well, thanks for asking, James. This is a garden vegetable variety soup with some additional spinach put in and some cheese. And if anyone cares, it's organic.
Oh, perfect. Good. We actually do a big organic following here on Diner Talks. Yeah, no, a lot of people are like, what's going on there? What kind of cotton is that you're wearing?
I think the viewership just tanked. So let's get going.
Well, here's an interesting thing. Why do we feel the need to say garden vegetables? Where else are people getting vegetables? Like, it's like if we say garden vegetables, we're immediately picking, like, it's like some old woman, some old man is like plucked this carrot from the hand-grown field and be like, that's why it was plucked with love from a home garden. I never understood the garden vegetable.
Yeah, I think about it. I've explored the option of doing aeroponics. So that's like the vertical gardens without soil and everything. So would it then be called an aeroponic vegetable soup?
Maybe. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm excited later on when we get into the hydroponic portion of the show. And I'm excited about that.
So good.
Tom, so good to see you, brother. Here's a fun thing about you and I. We are both speakers predominantly in the college market, though we both dabble in the corporate world. And we were both actually setting our courses to do that a little bit more, which has been fun to learn from each other there. But what a fascinating time it is to work in the field of colleges and universities. I don't know if you're like me, but I know for me that, August is one of the biggest months of my year. I believe it also is for your company, SwiftKick. But I'm just kind of I'm like a shark right now in an aquarium where I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm just swimming in circles waiting for someone to feed me. As in, like, I don't know if I'm going to be allowed to do my job in the fall. And I'm excited. I mean, there's obviously opportunities we can go virtual and things like that. But how are you dealing with the stress of a little bit of, financial uncertainty? The numbers are going to look a little bit different.
Yeah, I think first off, we have been in 10 years in the U.S. It's been roughly about 10 years of growth as an industry, as a society. Not everyone has been a part of that growth, but collectively, the economy has expanded for the past 10 years in what's called the bear market. So the fact that we're finally dipping into something that is not a bear market is like life altering for people. It becomes a huge wake-up call for me, and I guess I hope for a lot of people, on a couple of things. One is that we should not be overspending what we make. Two, that we should have savings in our bank accounts for X number of months, ideally 9 months, but I'm not Susie Orman, so let's do 4 months.
Not yet.
And then number three, not yet. And then number three is that there should be multiple streams of income. Because if we rely on one stream of income, all of a sudden it gets taken away, it's done. And I think that this moment right here is a huge wake-up call for so many of my speaker friends to realize that we cannot rely on just that one stream of income, which is in-person speaking.
Yeah.
And right now, what we're seeing is a scramble that's happening for all of our speaker friends. And you're right, August is our big month in orientation for colleges and universities. And I swear every single day, it's like one program comes in and then one gets taken away, and then one comes in and then one shifts. Yeah. Good day, bad day. Good day, bad day. And I really feel for the universities, because they have to come up with 16 different plans. We're one of many vendors that exist for them. And so for us, we're like one piece of their entire world that's going on. So I feel for them in this process. Yeah. And at the same time, for us speakers, it's a time to evolve and grow. And I'll say that I think when it comes to 2020, there are two types of people. One type of person thinks, I'm so upset at 2020. I hate it. I want it to be done. And then other people are like, I am so excited. I'm glad that 2020 is happening. And I am in that camp for a variety of reasons. I think COVID has exposed tons of stuff. I think Black Lives Matter has exposed tons of inequalities that exist. I think that the industry right now for speakers is exposing a lot. And so I'm so excited at what's coming out of it, the innovation. I'm definitely in this camp over here.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm with you over there for sure. It's just easy to make jokes on the other side. The jokes just are funnier over there.
Yeah.
But I'm with you there as well. I mean, obviously, we've both. Every time we say the word pivot on this show, everybody needs to drink. By the way,
hey,
pivot.
I got my mom.
But we've both done a good job of pivoting and trying to figure out what that next move is. But it's fascinating to think about universities, right? Because you're right, we're vendors to those institutions, but to think about the decisions that universities have to make right now, I do not envy the college presidents, right? But there's also a few that I don't admire, i.e. the state of Georgia right now. It's just the whole board of regents of the state of Georgia, none of which are educators, have decided that wearing masks is not mandatory and cannot be said that it is mandatory at any higher education facility in the state. So, it's just so interesting to think about people who are immunocompromised and obviously faculty members that are of older age, or also just the offshoot that this shit just hits you different, right? Like you don't know. It's just such a tough time to be a university administrator. So I'm with you on that. I do not envy their position right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think the other part is stability matters and predictability matters for any business owner out there.
Yeah.
And this is one of those years that I think every business book that's ever written from now into the future will have the COVID chapter. I predict it now. In fact, I'm going to write a book on how to write the COVID chapter because it's going to be such a popular chapter in every book that's ever exists.
Perfect.
Because I'm so curious to see what comes out of it. Oh, James, just a second. They just delivered the main course over here.
Oh, okay.
It is pizza. Again, it's veggie pizza. It's cheese on top with a little bit of spinach sprinkled in. And again, if anyone cares, it's organic. But who, if you care.
Boom! Organic drink. Yeah, it is. I love that. Congratulations on getting your pizza delivered. I'm a little bit jealous, brother. Is that real cheese on there, or is that like cashew cheese?
No. I do real cheese.
You do real cheese. Perfect.
Do.
When did you switch to being when did the vegetarian lifestyle come into your world, brother? When did you decide that was the lifestyle for you? I could have asked a longer question at this time, I guess.
Yeah, you could have noticed based on the bite size. I did. I always wish I had a great epic answer to this, that it was based around something like I was traveling to a safari and just couldn't stomach it anymore, something like that. But I don't. I was in high school. It was a Sunday night, and there was a Simpsons episode where Lisa Simpson becomes a vegetarian.
Yeah, you can't make friends with salad.
And it aired that night. And the little lamb in the show said, "Don't eat me." And the next morning, I went to bed that I went to bed that night, and I said, "I'm gonna be a vegetarian." Woke up the next morning, and I just became a vegetarian. That was back in like 2009. 1998-ish, 97.
Yes.
And then I went through the cycle. I went through junk food vegetarian. I went to processed meat vegetarian. I went to raw food, and no one wanted to be my friend when I was a raw foodist. No, I just stopped getting invited places. It was pretty good. Ended up somewhere in the space. Like, so now where I'm at is I'm pescatarian of sorts, mostly because it's like, I kind of just want to eat what I want to eat, but I have no interest in meat. It doesn't taste good to me. I've tried it. I've certainly had it before many times recently. And it's just like, it's just not my thing. So I care about animals. I care about the earth. And I like what I eat.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I think it is, and I've loved it because when we lived in New York City together, I would always have you pick the restaurants. I'm normally the restaurant picker, like in the friend group that I'm in, and also it's just something I pride myself on. It's like, I got it. I know a guy. I got a spot. Listen, come on. Look at me. You think I don't eat good? You know what I mean? Come on, right? And so I always take advantage. I'm always that person, and I love being able to carry that weight for individuals. But I don't think I have once asked you, can I please pick a restaurant for us to eat at? Because you have opened my eyes to so many cool different foods and different places and things like that. And I'm super grateful that you've let me use you in that way.
Hey, man, anytime you want to use me, please.
Here's another interesting thing, going back into colleges. Now I hope your pizza is delicious. This diner makes great pizzas, like all diners do. Make a high quality pizza.
It is. It is. Continue. Go ahead.
So the other interesting thing, right, is that, and Martha talked about this here, like that history books are also going to be rewritten during this time, hopefully. Let us please rewrite history in many a way right now. And it's interesting because you and I you and I are speakers, and I do a number of diversity, equity, inclusion programs and stuff like that. I know you touch on it in some of your programs, but it's never necessarily the focus of that, and that's okay, right? That's no shame in any way, shape, or form. But I'm wondering, especially as you do stuff around new student orientation, you're talking and to these new groups of students that are coming in, ideally more on fire about this situation. I'm wondering, do you feel yourself, do you think you'll talk about it a little bit more than potentially you normally would?
Our main core message is creating a culture of connection. Mm-hmm. And a culture of connection is an environment, a space in which everyone feels welcome, connected, and engaged. And there's all sorts of research at the university level and at the corporate level that talks about how valuable that level of engagement and connection means and matters. And so the only way we can get to culture of connection is if everyone in that room feels like they belong there. And that will only happen when every voice is included, when different personalities, backgrounds, experiences, diversity, it's all brought together into that space. And instead of it pretending like it doesn't exist, that it's actually talked about and then also celebrated. Because also behind that is there's a lot of research talks about the value of diversity in a space, that the more ideas, the more backgrounds, the more experiences that come to the table in a conversation, the more opportunities are going to come out of it. And so for us, it's a part of the conversation. Yeah. However, I don't come at it specifically from the diversity side. I come at it from the culture of connection side. And yes, Martha's saying dance floor theory. Yeah, so dance floor theory is the training. And the outcome of dance floor theory is to create a culture of connection within your team or organization where everyone feels welcome, connected, and engaged.
Where my fives at? Yeah, exactly. I love that, man. I love the approach because we also know that not everybody is ready for someone to step on stage and jam, some of these messages into their faces, right? And so there is power to the on-rampers of the conversation, right? There's power to the individuals that are helping people get into the conversations, be a part of conversations that have been happening for centuries, decades, centuries, right? And so there's a way to get people in and and get people to be like, oh, shoot, I guess that's kind of what they've been talking about, but I've been politicizing it when it didn't necessarily need to be politicized. It's really about humanity, connection, and some of those things. So I like that approach, brother. I'm excited to hear that you all aren't shying away from it.
No, I will say one thing that is going to be a casualty of 2020 on our side is free hugs. We're well known for it. It's a bit of a touchy subject right now to open up your arms and be like, come hug me, smother all your germs on me. We're going to have to wait a little bit to bring that party back.
Yeah, for sure. But you hold a world record, is it?
Well, this is a long and peppered history, James.
Okay, great.
The long or the short is that me and Guinness do not have a good relationship right now because I have broken the record twice and have been either taken over by someone else who broke it, and I disagree with their count method, and we've gone back and forth because I have nothing better to do in my life but to disagree with how many hugs someone got. For those interested, it was most number of hugs by one person in 1 minute. So we're going to go again this fall and see if we can reclaim this record of most number of hugs by one person in 1 minute. Sorry, correction, not this fall. Some point later.
At some fall, yeah. What is your record right now?
Oh, okay. So there is no record right now. I have zero record right now because of some. Initially, it was a celebrity who overtook it on The View. He went on The View and broke the record for most of our hugs by one person in 1 minute.
Yeah.
And he actually, and it was just like, it was blatantly not according to the rules, but apparently he paid the $10,000 or The View paid the $10,000 to get an official person there. And, if you pay someone $10,000 to show up, apparently you kind of just get the record.
Wow.
Hashtag capitalism, it's how it works.
Yeah. Okay. No, I can smell the bitterness, brother, and I understand because this record matters to you, and I'm very and I'm sorry that I brought up such a touchy subject.
Bitter topic.
Yeah,
that's okay, James, because I just realized the diner continues on with the meals here. It's dessert time. They actually just brought over some fresh strawberries. Strawberries.
Are those garden strawberries?
Organic garden strawberries. And then how nice of them to bring over some whipping cream. So wow. I now have for dessert at your diner, at Diner Talks, I now have whipped cream and strawberries. Continue on with the conversation.
Oh, yeah. No, this is perfect. This is what I wanted. Invite a more attractive man on him and have him eat whipped cream and strawberries in front of my entire audience and then see how many people still follow me afterwards. Shout out to you. Where's my server? All right, we got to work on it over here. The Minneapolis diners are different.
I hope all your future guests do a 3-course meal in front of you, and you as the host cannot eat. You have to wait.
Yep. No, that's it. Well, a wise man once said that leaders eat last. So,
what's his name?
So, Tom, here's the interesting thing: is that you are someone who is passionate about connection, right? Obviously, you just said your whole mission is creating a culture of connection. And I'm wondering, when did you first realize that was something that was important to you? When were you like, yo, this kind of changed the game for me? This is something that I really want to point my ship at, or was it just like, no one's talking about this, so let me fill in the gap? Was it a business move for you, or was it like, no, this matters at my core, and I want to tell other people why it should matter to them?
Oh man, that's a good one, because that kind of digs into my past and my current. And so I was very much the person that was on the outskirts of every social group in high school and growing up. Not in a bad way. I was just friends with all of them. I'd bop in and bop out and kind of go. I never went deep with any. And so that always kind of was a question for me. And then I got to college and I made my really like a core group of deep friends there, and realized that in that space, how much the value of having a group of friends were. However, I never was giving my all to something. So then post-college, I joined the Entrepreneurs Organization and got connected into a forum. And a forum is a group of 8 to 10 people that meet monthly to really challenge and support each other to live life at its fullest, based on our own terms. And I gave a ton to this organization. I gave a ton to the group. And this group allowed me to process through some of the most challenging moments of my life, such as going in debt with a business, getting fired from a company I was a part of that I had started and grown, a divorce that I went through, a remarriage, almost a sale of a business or a bankruptcy of a business, and then in the group itself, we've gone through topics. And I realized that in that space, the world would be a better place if everyone were plugged in to a positive, supportive community. The challenge is most people aren't. And there's a great book called Bowling Alone, which talks about the demise of bowling leagues in the American society. Mm-hmm. And it connected it attached to a lot of social issues that are happening. And what the correlation or the hypothesis is that in the United States, we are now less and less a part of groups that we go deep with for an extended period of time. We're more like the spiral graphs, mm-hmm. Where we like dip in and then we dip out, and we dip in and we dip out. But the real value, and anyone who's looked into happiness and health knows that the real value comes from deep social connections with a small group of people over an extended period of time. And so for me, I think about that. And so now I think about, how can I create a world in which everyone has an opportunity to be a part of that type of community? Period.
That's incredible. Period. I love that. I've never heard that. I mean, obviously I know some of the stories within there, but I never heard the whole thing. Would you recommend bowling alone, by the way? If not, I just told everybody you did. So it is, it's fascinating to me because, you know, as someone who focuses a lot on connection, I don't know if you would identify as an introvert or an extrovert. Where do you typically put yourself on that scale?
Ambivert. I'm right in the middle.
You're right in the middle. Good, thanks. Way to not answer my question. And so I'm a solid 5 in everything I do. Thank you. No, that's all. Okay, so you're right in the middle of the ambivert. And for you, you know, through everything that you've been through, I'm curious, like, let's go back to a couple of those things that you just kind of touched on a little bit. You know, the business that you had started with a friend of yours, and then that whole thing kind of tanking. What was that experience like, and how did you as a man in that moment own up to some of that, to essentially what most would call failure, right? And so I'd be curious to hear, how did you decide to lean on people in that moment during what was a really dark period for you?
I met a guy named Kevin at a program where I got trained on facilitation called Quantum Learning Network, and it was entrepreneurial love at first sight. And he had come out of a tech company and wanted to get an education, and I was just starting to speak at education, so we started to talk about this idea of dance floor theory, and we brought that to the market in college. But along the way, his tech side started popping up of like, we should automate this, build a program to make this happen. And that led us down this road of building software that ultimately called Red Rover, got into Techstars here in New York City, and then went into corporate as knowledge management software. Anyways, that's all background to say that by the end of several years, the work we were doing was not my passion. It was not my core. And I was the minority shareholder. And if anyone's ever a minority shareholder in a company, know that you do not have all the rights as the majority shareholder. And so Kevin and the board made the decision that I was no longer a good fit for the company, my company, the company I started. And at the time, it felt horrible.
Yeah,
like
dude.
I felt like someone was rejecting me and saying I could not do it. And it hurt. And Kevin and I did not get along. I didn't like him for a long time. Spoiler alert, Kevin and I are best friends right now and have been for a while. But in the moment, it was not a good situation because I felt like he was rejecting me and rejecting my skills. And at the time I was part of a forum, and my forum was, I leaned on them, and I realized that everyone, and I'll just say this because I do enough training and facilitation, I know everyone carries some sort of pain around with them.
Sure.
The problem is most people have no place to release that pain. And so they're keeping it inside. And it's manifesting itself in a lot of different ways, unhealthy ways. One of those biggest ways is with health itself. If we're not releasing the pain, it's going to show up in our health. But it also shows up as continually bad habits, whether it's in the next relationship or in the next business or in our own self. And so I encourage anyone who's listening, if they have pain, find some way to release it. The number one top ways I'm just going to recommend are with someone you trust. If you don't have that someone you trust, get a coach or a therapist if you're willing to pay for it. If you don't have the money to do that, I remember my freshman year of college, a speaker, Patrick Combs, came to my school and he said, "Hey everyone, I'm just going to give out a tip right now, and those who hear it will hear it." And I said, journal. I can't tell you how valuable journaling will be for you, but I'm telling you, it's one of the best things I've ever done in my life. So that night I went home to my journal, I opened it up, and the first page in 2001 says, "Dear journal, I don't know why I'm doing this, but Patrick told me to do it." Fast forward to my 40th birthday this year, and coming up on my 40th, and I still journal, because journaling for me is a way to take the thoughts that just keep going bing, 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 back and forth, and just release it somewhere. And it doesn't cost any money.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't. So those are that happened. That's how I took that moment of the negative experience of the getting fired, and allowing myself to at least find stability so that I could grow from it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, man. And did that? Would you say that happened pretty instantaneously? Of like, yo, I got fired. I feel like I failed. Cool, I got this forum. Let me lean in. Or did you take a couple of months to be like, yo, I suck. Like I'm terrible. Like how did this happen? Like did you know, was there a dark period in there, or was your forum kind of like right there? Was that safety net like right under the ledge that you just fell off of, so you didn't actually fall that far?
Yeah, the safety net was there. That's
Good.
the value of having this group. And again, to anyone who's listening, is put the effort in now to keep your core friends close. To, like, actually, I would encourage everyone. Dunbar has this number that's the 140. It's like the number of people the human brain can socially keep in our brains. Is about 140. It varies, but it's not just there's 140 people that we can keep. There's actually tiers, and in his research, he found that the tiers start at around 5. That their inner core is about 5 people, and then it's 10, then 15, then 30, then 60, and then 120 or 140. So I encourage everyone to actually take their group of people and find that 5 to 10, write them down, and just figure out a way to repeatedly stay in touch to keep that connection going. Because in those moments when we need them, if we've done all the prior sort of like relationship building to everything, they're going to be the ones that are the foundation that just hold us there so that we don't drop all the way through.
Yeah, that's beautiful, brother. I love that. And here's the other cool thing about you, Tom, is that you are a self-subscribed, prescribed, or whatever the right word is there. I am not a grammarian, but you're a proud optimist. Right? Optimism is something that runs through your veins. You can hear just by the way that you talk, right? It's like, even in this moment where it's like, tell us about the dirt. You're like, and then there was light. And you're like, all right, cool. And that's okay. But I'm curious for you, when did that optimism come to play? Like, was that always a part of who you were? Is that something like, if we were to get your parents on here real quick, come on in. Right? If we were going to get them in here, would they be like, our boy's always been an optimist, and like, when did you become an optimist?
Yes. Yeah, I have always been, I've always had a sparkle for hope.
I read that in your Twitter profile. Yeah.
What's funny is you're about to say in your Tinder profile, but then you realize I'm fully married and happily married. Yeah. And you're like, and then it'd also be awkward. And then it'd be awkward why you were on Tinder, and then that would lead to then our wives would have a conversation.
Swipe. Get me out of here.
Yeah. So Enlightenment Now is a book. If you want to throw that in the recommendation there, Enlightenment Now. I think Pinker something, Steven something. Bill Gates said it's if he could recommend one book to everyone, that would be the one book he'd have everyone read. And there's a line in there that says it talks about the philosophy that he uses, and it talks about every problem is just a matter of a lack of information. And that's how I think about it. So it's not a blind optimism to an issue comes up and we're just it's magically gonna happen. This isn't like The Secret, like sit and wait and just manifest the outcome. This is based on
my trip to Thailand. You pray love. Let's go.
Yeah. This is the idea that I do have a belief that there is a solution. I just don't have the information for it yet. And so what I'm going to do is give my all to it to figure it out. And so I'm going to put a lot of work into it. And I'm going to put a lot of work into it. And then I'm going to be an overnight success in that space in 10 years. And I think that most people, especially younger generations, when I'm talking to them at college, is they want the success now. They want to solve the problem now. And I'm telling them, like, it takes time. And especially if you're trying to do good work, it takes time.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I agree. It does take that time, but it's hard. It's hard in that moment sometimes to see the light, right? Especially like, we talked about, you mentioned some deeper things like divorce and stuff like that. And right, like, and as someone, you and I went through our divorces. They were very different divorces, but or at least the roles that we played in them. But at the same time, there's a lot of darkness in there. And those are some tougher times to sometimes come through, but like, knowing that there is that potential, like, again, like just being able to start finding some of those answers to solve some of those problems and recognizing that we're just, one answer away, a few answers away, is beautiful. But there is also that power of sitting in it sometimes, sitting in it, reflecting, right? And maybe that's what journaling is for you a little bit. Do you think?
Here, let me just talk about that sitting in it for a little while, because the problem is that when I was in it, I didn't want to be in it at all. However, now that I'm not in it, and I recognize how much I learned and the lessons I learned, and like how powerful those lessons were, I wish there were a way to simulate it without having to be in it. So that I could go and be like, "Ooh, as a self-help junkie, I want to get the lessons, but not have to actually experience it." But I think the challenge is like, we have to go to that deep place and sit in that muck for a while to allow the lessons to happen that needed to happen. It's like a sports top level sports people will never talk about the games they won. They'll always talk about the games they lost.
Sure. Yep.
And it's because it's like the best lessons are coming from those moments of just pain. Mm-hmm. And I know in my divorce, that was horrible. That whole year was horrible for me. And I got through it. And I'm so thankful I got to experience it. Never want to experience again. I am never going to experience it again. Yeah, you're right. And I'm happily married to the woman that is amazing for me. However, I do love the lessons I learned about myself.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Did you find, do you journal every day, weekly? How often would you say that you're putting pen to pen? Or is it during just specific points of like, hey, I'm kind of feeling down, or I'm feeling really up? Like, have you noticed a pattern?
Ideally it's every day, but I would say every second, third day, something goes in. Yeah. And I try not to just get like the down points. I also try and get the up points, and celebrate the wins. But I have hundreds of pages of journal, which are crazy. It's funny to look back on some of them. Like, oh my God, I can't believe my mental space during that time. Like,
I love it.
Have you journaled? Have you tried it?
I have, yeah. I have done some journaling. It was more of what you just talked about, where it's like pretty much only dark. Like if I were to go back and read that, like I don't want anybody to ever see it. Oh, wow, okay. Oh, this is a little dark. I think it was mainly during that time. And also, I also journaled at the beginning of the relationship that I'm now in and married to Tina. I journaled at the beginning through some things that I was like, this part isn't perfect. Why does that matter? Why does that matter to me? Right. And like, what about this and what about that? Because I think, it's hard when you leave a relationship that was good. It just wasn't great. It's hard to then be like, okay, well then what is great? Right. And it's easy to judge the other person, to be like, well, you're not great. Right. It's like, no, bro, like, why does this thing bother you? And let's talk about that, right? And so journaling through some of that of like, get over your own stuff and your own, why are you putting this on other people when you need to be looking in the mirror some days? And so some of that was healthy and was not necessarily optimistic, but it wasn't all super dark. But those are the times where I found where I'm confused is when I turn to journaling. And when I am very stressed out and when I'm go, 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 and I just feel like super overwhelmed, that's when I turn to meditation. I know you also meditate. Yoga is a big practice in your world as well. But that's when I turn to meditation, where it's like, I need to slow down. And I want to meditate more frequently than I currently do. But I'm very grateful that I have that practice in my life, even to the small amount that it is.
Cool. I love it. And it's great to hear you're digging a bit into it, because meditation was one of the things I did for years prior to the divorce. It was essentially all I was doing was training. I didn't know I was training to calm my brain down for something serious, but that's exactly what happened, is because then I got to the actual moment and my anxiety rose up, and I remember it felt like someone was inside my stomach just punching me over and over and over again. Yeah. And because of all that training and just breathing, I was able to calm down. And that was really big. And so, yeah. I want to say, can I say something on the journaling for anyone who no, I can't. You have to write it down. Let me write it down and send it to you.
No, please do, brother.
One thing that's important for anyone who wants to journal is the why over the what. So when I journal, I don't focus on what happened. I focus on why what happened mattered. So for example, James, you and I might get a puppy, and we both write in our journal, "I got a puppy today!" ! And leave it at that. And that's fine. But why does that puppy matter to you? I might say, because, I love puppies. I've always wanted a puppy. But you might say, a puppy matters to me because Papa James would never allow me to have a puppy because he said we couldn't afford it, and only those who have money can have a puppy. And because now I'm financially free and on my own, I can truly buy a puppy. So to me, it means success. Now all of a sudden I understand that you having a puppy means a lot. And so that's the difference. Whenever I journal, I put one line about what happened, or two lines, but then the rest of it is, why does that matter?
Yeah. That's beautiful, man. That reminds me, in musical improv, in improv, we know the rule of yes and, right? You're constantly building, saying yes and, here's how I feel about, and here's another piece of information. In musical improv, where you have an accompanist on the side of the stage from you, and there's that moment in a typical music where the two characters like, oh, our emotions are so high, we can no longer talk, we must sing. And the accompanist comes in, ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba, right? And they start singing about their emotions. Like that moment, what the accompanist is looking for is a want, is a why. Because it's not just, we're not going to sing about how we all just got bicycles. We're going to sing about what this bicycle means, right? It's the opportunity to create wealth. It's the opportunity to leave a home that is broken. It's the opportunity for freedom, like whatever. But like finding that why is super important. And this is when so many people come up to us and are like, oh, I want to be a speaker. Oh, I want to be a speaker, right? And it's like, and they want to know how to do it. And I think, one thing that I believe you do as well is we back it up is, let's talk about the why first. Like why do you want to do this? And okay, if that is your why, is speaking the best way for you to deliver your why? Or is it teaching? Or is it coaching? Or is it this, right? Like there are so many, when we back it up, instead of just seeing the shiny thing, when we back it up, we start to unpack like, oh, here is the core. Here's the trunk of the tree. Where are we going from here? Yeah,
that's good. I remember someone.
Thanks.
Yes, and. Da, 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 da. And I got a bicycle, and you got a bicycle. I love my bicycle. I remember because I'm a huge fan of reading too, and so somewhere I heard the quote that I read to lose myself, but I write to find myself. And so today I was actually writing a ton for our Dance Floor Theory book, Culture Connection book, and it's like I'm 46,000 words into it. But as I write it, I just feel so much of the passion for these like communities and groups coming in, so just a huge proponent of journaling. That's it. Yeah.
I love that, brother.
And whipped cream.
And whipped cream. Here we go, folks. All right. This is getting a little weird. Oh, not these two again over here. Okay, all right, break it up, you two. Enough of this here now. Oh, yeah, that's right. You're not smiling now, are you? All right. That video means we've gotten a little bit too deep and your whipped cream has gotten a little bit too sexy. Tom, let's jump into a segment of the show that I like to call Things You Didn't Know About Me But Are Now Glad That You Do. It's a long title, but I think it's worth it.
Totally. Makes sense.
So I'm curious, Tom. We both have some random facts that we have about ourselves, and so I'll share a fact first about myself, and then I would love to hear a random fact about you. How's that sound?
Great. I love random facts.
Perfect. Here we go. My first pet was a fish. It was a fish tank, multiple pets. It was a fish tank, and there was a blue gourami in there that I loved to death. It was the only fish that lasted more than 2 weeks. I was a terrible father, but this blue gourami lasted for almost a year, so much so that all of the other fish got the proper, typical fish burial, aka the toilet run. Shout out to Nemo. But the blue gourami we made a headstone for and buried out front because it was just such a long running member of our family. Thank you. Thank you.
Just a moment of silence.
Yeah. What do you got, brother?
In middle school, I used to carry around a picture of a famous celebrity in my wallet. High school. In high school, I used to carry around a picture of a famous celebrity in my wallet because I so wanted my hair to look just like his hair. And so it was inspiration for me at any given moment. Plus, when I went to the barber, I kept trying to get my hair to look just like this celebrity. And so that celebrity is Brad Pitt.
Ooh.
1998.
Incredible. How long did you rock the Brad Pitt hairstyle?
Freshman, sophomore, junior year of high school. And then by senior year, I cut it. And then it went Backstreet Boys. And then eventually I rounded out to a style that's now called the COVID cut.
Yes.
Hashtag trademark. Yeah. So there you go.
Let me take the logo down here so you can see the coiffure that is happening right here, my friends. Tom Krieglstein, known as the best hair in higher ed. I love it, brother. Here's a fun fact that's embarrassing that I didn't anticipate sharing right now. But, when we are younger and learning about ourselves, particularly as young boys, we become attracted to different things. And so, the age that we grew up in, we're only 2 years apart. So I know we grew up in the same age, but we grew up with 3.5 inch, they were called floppy disks, but there wasn't anything floppy about them. But 3.5 inch floppy disks. And so I used to save images of female celebrities that I found very attractive onto 3.5 inch floppy disks. And I hid them. And then I eventually went away to college, and it was around my junior year. And I respect my father for the way that he did this, but he waited for a family dinner. He had cleaned out the computer area. We had upgraded our computers back at home and whatnot. And before he did that, he wanted to make sure there was nothing important on any of the floppy disks that he found. And so the computer was long gone. We no longer had even a computer that could use this. It was then I came home, it was like Thanksgiving or maybe the following summer at a barbecue or something like that. And he goes, in a moment of silence, says, "Hey, James, by the way, I found your discs." And I was like, and by this time it was like 3 years ago, right? Like I didn't even remember. I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Oh, you don't remember?" And then he proceeded to tell everybody at the party what was on these floppy disks. And though I was embarrassed, I was also extremely proud of him.
Oh, that's great. The surprising thing is that he had a floppy disk drive. still to be able to use them. Like that's
Oh, he didn't. No, he had
part.
gotten rid of. Right, it was right before. I guess he had thrown out that computer when I was around. I agree. Thank you, my brother. But yeah, apparently he had thrown out that computer, and right before he threw it out, he's like, "Let me just make sure there's nothing important on here." So, and then he just held on to that memory, which was beautiful. So
I love it. I love it.
How about you, brother? Let's hit him with one more.
Oh yeah, this is a good one. I was doing a work over in Indonesia for a summer program over there, and one of my coworkers lost her passport. So we're at the airport, and we like needed to get back to the States to do another program.
Yeah.
So we're at the airport on a Sunday or whatever, and she lost it. And they said they're like the security guards there, and like, there's no way you could get through with your passport. You need to talk to the consulate to get a passport. And so, but the consulate was closed on Sunday, so that meant we'd have to wait till Monday. So bad news, basically. And the guy had one of those big guns, and he was one of the local Indonesian immigration people. And he leaves the room. And while he leaves, I turn to my coworker and I'm like, I think we should try and bribe him. And and this is this is the hashtag white privilege showing up real strong, because I thought that would be a good idea. So he comes back in the room, and the partner was like, "No way, I have no part in this at all." So I come back. The guy comes back in the room. He's like, "I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do." So I reach into my pocket and I grab whatever like physical cash I had, and I place it on the table and I slide it over to him and I say, "Will this change your mind?" Because we're like in this, and I lift my hand up, and it's the equivalent, and he starts laughing. And I'm like, and I look down to see how much I put there, and it's roughly like in Indonesian, it ends up being about $5 that I was bribing this guy with. So he starts hysterically laughing, and I like nervously go, ha, 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 like laughing with him, thinking it's funny. And so he takes out this piece of paper, stamps it, hands it to us, and he says, "I'll tell you what, this will get you to Paris, but once you're in Paris, you'll have to deal with them there and figure it out. But at least you'll get out of Indonesia." He says, "All I ask is for one favor from you." And I go, "Anything." Like, "What is it?" And he goes, "When I come to your country, can you treat me as well as I have treated you here?" And I was like, like, I don't know about our immigration here in the US, but I cannot thank that guy enough for letting us through. But more importantly, I cannot thank him enough for not putting me on the next episode of Locked Up Abroad, because that was like 2 steps from being on that show.
Wow, dude, that's crazy. How long ago was this? When was this?
2008, 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did he take the $5?
No. Didn't take it. Like,
I think you showed him. America.
Oh man.
Wow.
Yeah, that's one of my lesser moments of
Right.
Paying attention to what I should or shouldn't do. Decision making, that's the word.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's rich right there, brother. I appreciate it. Let's jump back.
Side note, James, I would love to go travel to Indonesia with you. I got some extra money.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, definitely. Okay. No, thanks so much. I'm sure inflation isn't a thing there, and we're going to be great.
Yeah, so good. It's going to be wonderful. They love us.
I love it. And you have a passport now, yes? Or Cool. Great.
Cool.
That's funny because we're not allowed to leave the United States anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow.
In fact, everyone's blocking us, rightfully so, because we're causing the trouble now. Which,
Yep. Wear a mask. So.
Yep.
Anyway, so here's an interesting thing, Dom, is that you are, again, as we talked about, you are passionate about connection, and you're passionate about creating connection for others. But as you mentioned, you just entered a new, absolutely beautiful marriage. Your wedding was stunning, and it was just such a perfect day, as a wedding should be. Location was a win. 10 out of 10 would go again. But you also entered a a fascinating relationship as well. And so I'm curious, you now entered a role of being a stepdad. And so I'd just be curious to hear, as someone who is passionate about connection and someone who is trying to create moments of individuals who that create safety, that create spaces where they can live and be free, I'd be curious, how has that been for you in entering a new family like that?
Yeah. James, first off, let me say on the wedding, if I need to make sure I shout out the MC, because the MC was stellar. 5 out of 5 on Yelp. I think if anyone's looking for an MC, he's right there. His name is James.
Good luck spelling either of our last names.
Yeah, James was on point as the MC of the wedding. So again, thank you for that and making it happen. But yes, I did marry a woman, a beautiful woman, amazing woman, way smarter than I am woman, who had a bonus, which was a daughter. And for me, that was something I wasn't looking for. However, I am blessed and happy that she came into my life and I came into her life. And I quickly, like I do with everything, I went and tried to find as many books as I could about the topic and read and tried to understand it. And surprisingly, there's not a ton. But yet, about 50% of the youth in America live with just one biological parent. Doesn't mean they live with one other, but it means that they're either in a single home or they have a step parent of some sort.
Yeah.
And the majority of those are stepdads, because typically the child stays with the woman afterwards. Typically, I'm not saying this always, but statistically that's the case. So I entered into this, and we said we wanted to do it right. Like, we just want to show that blended families can be a beautiful thing. And it is. It really, really is. There's so many amazing moments that we get to have as a family. And we even came up with a name for myself, which is Tata, which is dad in Serbian, because her mom's Serbian, my wife's Serbian, so that's dad in Serbian. And it was similar to like dance floor theory that has that levels of engagement. The same is true. Like, we just built into it slowly to the point where she is my daughter and I am her dad. I am her Tata. And I think I lucked out because she is simply just an amazing daughter in all possible aspects of it. I honestly think if the Dalai Lama passes away, and they go on the search for the new Dalai Lama, they're going to knock on our door and be like, "We have come for her," and like take her away.
She's walking around with the glow at all points. You're like, there's just something different about her in a really cool way.
Yeah. It's just like, it's just her ability to process emotions and think about it and write about it and reflect on it are just, I learn so much from her every day. And so for me, it's a blessing to be able to guide her with what I know about life. And so I'm really happy.
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. I love that, and I love watching. The way that you all handle a situation that, like, you're right. I mean, there aren't a lot of books about, and we all know the examples more so than when people get it wrong than when people get it right. And it's really beautiful to watch the way that you put in the work. And I think it's also interesting because you had the opportunity to go to Serbia at least once or twice now, and big language barrier there for you. I'm sure you knew the pleasantries, but you didn't know a ton of it. I'd be curious, again, as someone who prides themselves on making connection, how was that for you in going to Serbia and going to a place where you wanted to impress, right? Like, everybody wants to impress their person's family and be like, well, let me show you why I'm so great, right? And the hair only gets you so far. And so I'm wondering, how was that experience for you in meeting her family and trying to get them to fall in love with you beyond the fact that she liked you?
Yeah, so some tips. First, wear a shirt that says "Everything's bigger in America,"
with the Texas flag,
and then have a big jar of peanut butter. Those are like 2 ways to win over anyone in the world.
You are passionate about peanut butter. That is something we share in common.
Truth. But in all seriousness, I will say there's the difference between a tourist and a traveler. And a tourist shows up into a new space. Oh, Tourists. Oh, wow. It went
That was
dark,
almost
dark.
perfectly timed. Into a new space, black.
Yeah. Boom.
I thought you would plan that.
Yeah, no, my little doggy did. Come here. Now you should meet everyone, because if you're gonna be here, come say hi. Oh, look
my
at that
goodness.
little. By the way, she is my trusted companion in all my video calls, because she just
Okay.
sits right by my feet. Her name is Kiki. Kiki, do you love me? Anyways, so
oh, we're breaking up. We're breaking up. Sorry, no.
Yeah.
That's it. Drake. The Drake cues the end of the song.
A tourist and a traveler, and the tourist shows up and says that what I know is right, and I'm going to show you all why it's right. And the traveler shows up and with a curious and open mind. And so for me, thinking about connection, is I show up in a space that I know very little about the history. I know very little about the culture, and so but I show up with an open mind and curiosity to want to learn. And I've traveled to 50 some countries around the world. And it never fails to show up with that type of mentality as a way to be able to break down the ice and connect with people. And I'll say this, just a final note, is that everyone around the world is way nicer than they are on the news.
Yeah.
And I've never, there's a guy who got paid to travel around the world dancing everywhere, Matt something. And he said, someone asked him, like, where was the most dangerous place you've ever been? And he said like the U.S. And it's like, ouch. So I felt nothing but love all over the world, honestly.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. Did you have any awkward moments where you said the wrong thing, or did any funny moments happen while you were over there?
Yeah, one of the big ones is you're Minnesota. Minnesota, nice.
Oh, sure. Oh, there we go. Now, okay.
Yeah, born in Michigan, grew up in Illinois, Midwest. In Midwest, like, don't ruffle the feathers, don't rock the boat. Like, keep everything. If there's conflict, this is a bad thing. Just hold your opinion to yourself, kind of deal. And honestly, Eastern Europe is not that way at all. And so I remember there was this conversation my wife and her sister were having. It was like going on, and my sense was like, oh my gosh, what is happening in this conversation? They're fighting. And I came after her, I said, what were you two talking about? And like, that was a serious fight you were having. And she goes, oh, we were just talking about the weather. And I was like, that's the weather? Good Lord, I can only imagine what a real fight sounds like. So that's been a learning curve for me, is understanding that culturally in the Midwest, that conflict was a bad thing. And I've actually had to rewrite that for myself quite a bit, both in business and in life, but in my relationship, is that conflict can be really healthy if it's done right. And I've learned a lot. I've worked a lot on that to allow myself to have healthy conflict and be okay with it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a beautiful message, man. I once heard a stand-up comic here in Minnesota say, listen, you'll never be able to win a fight with a Minnesotan because you just keep punching them in the face and they just keep apologizing. It is so funny because we went to before we moved here, we came back and went to a number of family Christmases, and that they're a great time. Tina's got a great family here. But it's so funny because, you do the white elephant or whatever the gift exchange thing is, or sometimes they'll pick, they kind of alternate doing that one year, and then the other year they pick names of the hat, and you get one person, like Secret Santa type stuff. And so whenever it's a Secret Santa year, it is sometimes painful to be there, because literally right before anybody opens up their gift, like, okay, go ahead, Aunt Terry, it's your turn. And then whoever bought Aunt Terry the gift will immediately out themselves and just be like, I'm so sorry. It's probably the wrong size. You're probably not going to like it. I don't even know if it's like you, but I saw it and I just really thought it could be you. And I just really thought, and so I'm just really sorry. And like literally haven't removed one piece of tape from the wrapping yet. And I'm just like, what are we doing here? So it was a humorous, true Minnesotan moment that I've experienced. And being raised in New York, and being a New Yorker. Now we were raised on Long Island, so we're a little softer, right? It's not like we're from the Bronx or something like that. My dad is from the Bronx, and you'll be able to tell that when you meet him. But still, I just never grew up in that situation. And so now, whenever Tina's mom apologized to me about something, she's like, "I'm sorry. I know the chicken is a little bit, or I'm sorry. I know that I put my shoes in your way, like 5 feet in the path, close to where you may walk one time in the next 20 days." And I'm always like, "Thank you. Thank you for apologizing. I needed that."
I needed that.
And they don't know what to do with me. I don't know if they've determined if they like me yet or not, but it's been fun.
Have you, in terms of your I don't want to say desire for conflict, or your desire to attack the problem, let's talk about the issue directly. Mm-hmm. Have you had to tone that down in the Midwest, or do you feel like you're doing it and then there's consequences of it because everyone's saying sorry back to you?
Yeah, it depends on the person, but I am definitely, hey, let's come for the neck, right? Let's go, let's get it out there. Everybody's talking about everybody in this passive aggressive way, but we're not actually ever getting to the issue, right? Yeah. And it's a lot of so-and-so is talking to so-and-so about so-and-so, but no one's talking to so-and-so. And I've just noticed that a number in friend groups and family groups and a bunch of groups around here. And so, yeah, there are some times where I don't know, even sometimes when I'm talking to waiters, I sent a sandwich that I had back the other day, and the people at the table were like, "You're doing what?
Whoa.
You're sending a what are you doing? No, you should have." And everybody was blown away that I sent something back. I was like, it was burnt. It was a burnt sandwich. Watch it crumble. And they were, and literally people still talk about "Oh, Jimmy sent sandwiches back over here," right? It's it was the news.
Jimmy sent sandwiches back. Yeah, that's it's a truth. That's why I'm here on the East Coast, and I like the East Coast because I get to be a bit more direct. But I've had to learn. Definitely had to learn. It didn't come natural for me. It still doesn't come natural for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Tom, brother, I am so excited that we got to hang out this evening, man. It's been so dope kicking it with you. I hope you'll hang out for some Q&A. Are you down to see if people have some questions that got asked in the chat? Are you down to hang out for a little bit?
I certainly am. While you're queuing up those questions, I'm just gonna I had 2 comments here. One was about the Karen, the name Karen. I am short selling the stock on the name Karen because I guarantee no one's naming their children Karen anymore. So it's I really hope Tom continues to only be a history thing of Uncle Tom and never a new thing. I'm I remember when I became an uncle, my family was like, "We're not going to use Uncle Tom. We're just not going to use it. You're going to be." They call me Uncle Moss because they didn't want to have that historical reference, and I was like, "Okay, I get it. Yeah,
yeah."
So that one. And then I was curious what poached tickets were, but now I thought it was a food thing, a reference to diner talks. But I think I understand now. Or are you going to teach me?
I don't even know what I remember. When did I say that one?
In your top 3, when you're talking about concerts and stuff, you said poached and then you said scalped.
Poached, scalped, yeah. I meant to say scalped, yeah.
And I'm thinking poached like a you poach an egg.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to poach a ticket, you got to get the water spinning first and the vinegar in there, and then you drop the ticket in.
It all makes sense now.
Tom,
anyways,
thank you so much for coming through. I appreciate it. Hey, y'all, if you're listening to the podcast and you want to hear more from Tom, make sure that you check out my YouTube page. Just type in James Rebalata on YouTube. It'll punch in and check out my episode with Tom just so you can hear this awesome Q&A with him. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Please please subscribe, and you all have an amazing day. All right, Tom, I'm curious if anybody on here is listening, has some questions, either about other books that he's read. Tom is a wealth of knowledge as far as just cool book recommendations. If you're hemming and hawing about something, whether it's sales, whether it's hiring, whether it's life, whether it's self-help, Tom's got a ton of really cool book recommendations for sure, and also just other questions. But we had a couple in here, so here's some. Tom, free hugs is your thing, obviously, and for those of you that have never seen Tom Krieglstein live, he does the Free Hugs campaign. It's big. He has people take pictures with free hug signs. It's really, it's awesome. It's beautiful. But Tom, I'm just curious, is there some merch around the free hugs for you?
There is at swiftkick.hq.com. I think it's buy cool stuff, and you can see all the merch there. Heads up that shipping is a little delayed because of life, COVID.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's all there. Swiftkick HQ. There's shirts, buttons, stickers, tattoos. No tattoos.
No tattoos. Yet.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be amazing? Yeah.
I love it.
John Vroman. Yeah, go ahead.
John Vroman. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
John Vroman did a tattoo of Front Row Foundation right here.
Did he?
Like that? Yeah. Are you going to do diner talks?
No.
Right here?
No, yeah, right here. Yeah, right above. Yeah, in small font. Yeah, Times New Roman. Griffin, this isn't a question, but I think I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on it, Tom. Do you do work in the K-12 space at all?
Very rarely.
Yeah, same here.
But let me say, my training was in the K-12 space.
Mm-hmm.
So that was Super Camp Quantum Learning was all K-12.
Yeah. Okay. I love it. So I'd be curious. I mean, I don't know. Giffen is a super cool dude. Actually, also outside of Chicago himself, and is a middle school, I believe, principal. Giffen, let me know if that's right. But I'd be curious. When you start thinking of talking about the why, and this came up when you were talking about journaling, right? Don't talk about the what, talk about the why. How do you get individuals to start to think about why, whether they're in middle school or even beyond, right? There's so many people who never switch around the corner to why, they just hang out in what. Yeah.
Giffen is acknowledging he's a principal, so don't downplay him as a vice principal.
I'm just making sure.
Yeah.
Giffen, I got your back, brother. Great.
Yeah. There's an activity called the 4 purpose circles, something like that, and it's a way to be able to sort of understand potentially a journey of like, where am I headed? Where is this all going? And in one circle is supposed to put in all the things that you grew up around, for better or for worse.
Okay.
For better or for worse, because sometimes how your mess becomes your message, so you put in there. Another one is put all the things that you have spent a ton of time doing, and like list all those things that you've done, you spent a lot of time doing. And then another one was list things that you think you're good at, so specific skills. And then the last circle is list things that other people say you're good at. And so put a bunch of stuff in each one of those, and then start trying to draw lines between the 4 of them. And it's interesting because stuff starts to come up. It'll be like, for example, for me, I grew up around a dad who was a teacher. Parents were professors, and dad was in theater, shows, and did his one-man plays. And then I spent a ton of time. I spent a ton of time in theater around my dad, and then also in school, I was in performance and plays and stuff. And then people would always see me on stage and be like, "Hey, you're pretty good there." And as I start to piece it together, I realized that, wait a second, there's I have a passion for this, and I'm interested in it, and I skilled at it and pulled it together. That's one way to do it. Another activity, I think, James, you and I may have participated in this, is I love this one, is it's a question that you can ask adults and say, when you were a child, what were the stories that your elders kept saying about you? And the base idea here is that who we are meant to be has been with us all along. We just needed to find it and discover it. And it was in us as a child because it was in our unconscious and we just did. And as we grew up, we became more conscious and started trying to push it down. So it's an interesting activity to play around with.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Let's give an example of that one, Tom. I'd be curious to hear what yours is. While you're thinking about it, I'll share mine. But when I was younger, my mom loves to tell this story, but we lived on a corner, and the elm trees on Elm Street all started dying. Unfortunately, they had this unfortunate disease that a whole bunch of them got, and so we had to cut one down to the stump because we weren't at the place yet where we could grind it down and handle it that way. But so we had to grind it down to a stump, and the whole time when I was younger, I used to ask my mom. I said, "Mom, can we go outside so I can wave to everybody walking by and say hello and ask them how their day is going?" And we would go outside and sit on the stump, and I would wave to people as they went by and talk to them. Now, which is one of the most James Robillata things I've ever said.
It's literally one step away from you telling me a story like you were in a diner and you started walking up to random people and having conversations with them. I mean, like literally.
You.
With a purple mic, you just walk around the diner. It was
branding
fake at the time.
Still branding.
Yeah, exactly.
How about you? Do you have a story like that?
Just a quick one, and then I want to actually get back to Giffin's comment here because he left something in the chat there.
Giffin's fine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, really, he's good.
I'm just playing, brother.
One of the things is my mom would give me a bin filled with several hundred coins. And I would and she'd hand them to me, and then I would take them and lay them out on the ground, and I would organize them in like 16 different ways. I'd spend hours doing this. And one of the things I love in my life is systems and structure. And so much of what I do is all systems and structure. And I realize that in my business, I do it, in my personal life, in my self-improvement, it's all like I measure and I track and I keep track of it. Yeah. And now that I'm doing like small group work with forums and goal setting and accountability, all of it is based around a system. Like, let's get a group together and build a system that allows them to hold each other accountable, pushing forward to achieve good things in their life. And like, it all comes back to me for those pennies, lining up pennies.
Yeah. I love that, man. I love that. Yeah. Let's get to Giffin's comment because this is really cool.
So Giffen, the one thing I would think, and this is just coming back to when we would have kids like this in our super camp days who were really frustrated. Sometimes the child himself wasn't able to verbalize what was going on. So we tried different modalities to be able to find out what was happening. And some of the different modalities that worked was just art. There'd be like art. Another one was poetry. Another one was like song or music lyrics. And those would tend to be different ways for them to be able to express what was happening because they didn't have the language to say what they actually felt. Because unfortunately, most kids don't have a good language base yet. They're not being trained on how to express what they're feeling. So something that might show up so that they have a better understanding of why they're doing it.
Yeah. I love that. And Giffen, thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you you chiming in the way that you are for sure. I love that. Tom, we had a couple of funny things that came in. A gentleman by the name of Tim Ford, who we met a number of years ago. He's actually seen you a few times. A growing speaker himself. I love this. He said, "I once owned 37 fish on accident." Tim, I don't know how one owns 37 fish on accident. It's not like they walked into the house. It's not like a stray cats, right? Like they didn't, unless you have a swim up bar, get it? But I love this. The caretaker did, let's say, a subpar job. That's it. I relate with your caretaker, sadly, more than you right now in this one because I was the piss poor caretaker. And I don't know if you caught this one in here, but Aaron's comment, "My roommate and I got deported at the Slovakia border in college, and she didn't have her passport and convinced border officials that she was American because she recognized the song 'The Gambler' by Kenny Rogers that was playing in the background."
That's like, I think my dad became an American citizen. I'm pretty sure they made him sing that song.
Great track. I love that. For sure. Martha, here's a question from Martha. Yeah, I'd be here. I know that. Yeah, Tom, tell a little bit about what you've been doing virtually in this space.
Yeah, we saw the shift happen pretty quick, and so we jumped in really early. And my thing was is that I've been on so many virtual webinars and everything prior, and so many of them were just really bad. There was no engagement, no connectivity, and so I really pride ourselves on our in-person engagement and connectivity. So I said, if we're going to do this, we're going to make highly engaging virtual programs. And so we took all of not all, sorry, a lot, but not all of our content and converted it to virtual. We use Zooms and definitely leverage the digital space. And I'll add one thing to this, and James, pass to you, is the thing I actually love about virtual compared to in person is if I had 500 people in a room and I said, okay, go ahead and pair off, it would take 10 minutes for them to pair off. And then it would take 10 minutes to get them back. And there might not even be space for them to pair off in the room. But with virtual, especially with Zoom, with a click of a button, I can send them all into breakout rooms and have the conversation and build a relationship and come back. And so I've actually really thrived on building that culture connection in the virtual space that I'm going to miss a little bit when we go back in person because I won't be able to do some of the stuff I do now.
It'll be fascinating to see how many. I don't know if universities will use as much of the virtual stuff. I mean, they will obviously for the next year at least, if not more. But I'll be curious. It'll also be fascinating to see the way that this shifts higher education in the future in general. But specifically in the company space, like how much of the culture of connection, like especially for the work that you do, Tom, with developing great teams. I'll be curious to see how much companies are using individuals like you in the future, because it's such a clear through line for companies that are like, you know what, we're paying way too much money for this building. Why don't we just keep everybody working at home? Because we're going to be able to hit the points that we want to hit, but we still need that team who's doing that for us. But I think it'd be really cool for you.
Yeah, it's going to be, it'll be interesting. I mean, higher ed's going to go through a world of something coming up here because they're hitting the enrollment down. I think it was down 15 some percent. I just read an article that students are now negotiating the salary, the tuition. Yeah, they're negotiating with the universities. The university is actually open to negotiating because they kind of want more students.
Yeah.
And so they're having less students. The overhead's going to be higher, and not everything's going to be open on campus. So the students are going to be like, wait, well, why am I paying all this money if I can't go use the pool? Like I want some of my money back. So I don't know what's going to happen. That's beyond my pay grade. That's for the principals Giffen to figure out. Or he's like, no, not my department.
Not my department. Happily not.
Yeah. But I don't know. I'll be curious to see what happens there. But again, James, for you and I and all the speakers out there, just from a business side of it is be prepared with multiple streams.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I learned be prepared from Scar in Lion King, and so I agree with you.
As all life lessons.
And I think Martha, I mean, I've also been doing a ton of stuff virtually, free digital workshops every Thursday, and doing a whole bunch of stuff for universities as well as companies. And this is the part that is hard for me, is how do you adjust not having that live engagement? I mean, humor is a huge part of what I do. My whole speaking style, as many know, is I get you laughing and then I sucker punch you in the feels. But oftentimes also the improviser in me, I need to hear you laugh at something in order to know, okay, cool, you thought that was funny. I'm going to hit that again later, right? Like I'm going to let you know that I'm building this off of you as well. And so I miss some of those moments in there. But at the same time, just as Tom said, there's a whole bunch of really cool things about the virtual space, and getting individuals to interact that would have never interacted before has been really cool. And I think it's beautiful. I just did a presentation for American Express, and there were people on the call from every single one of their hubs around the world. So there's a lot of people from India, people from Tokyo, London, Rome, New York, Salt Lake, and around. And it was really cool that everybody was there. It's like, hey, get into a breakout room and please introduce yourselves, because you probably never met before. Maybe you've seen a name on an email, but even then. And so it's a really cool way to get some faces to some names. You're like, oh, that's what you look like. Oh, that's your dog. Like those cool moments of humanity are really special about this, for sure. So
James,
yeah.
watch this. I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to bring it back full circle. You ready?
Oh, good. Yeah, please. Yeah, someone needs to. I'm not good at that.
When I was eating raw meat as a vegetarian, I was like really into the fake meat. Sorry, not raw meat, fake meat. When I was really into the fake meat as a vegetarian, I talked to my meat loving friends, and they'd be like, "Ah, it's so disgusting. Like, how can you possibly eat it? It's so gross. It doesn't even taste anything like meat." And I kept telling them, I said, well, no, it's because it's not meat. It's its own thing. And they made the mistake of calling it fake meat. Like, and I get it from a marketing perspective. They're trying to do that to like bridge the gap. But really what they needed to do was make its own thing. I think virtual is its own thing. It's not in person done virtually. It's actually, it's its own thing. And we are collectively as a world, I guess, right now are figuring out how to do it in a good way. But we cannot compare it to what in person is, because in person is its own thing and virtual is its own thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's beautiful. I love that analogy too. That makes a lot of sense. As someone who has tried fake meat, and didn't like it and was very upset that it was called fake meat. My parents actually have a story about that, because apparently my mom decided to make spaghetti squash for my brothers when they were much younger. And my mom's spaghetti is world famous, okay? Like it's iconic. And so it's a big deal. And they were like, no, we're going to make you spaghetti squash. And one of my brothers, after taking a few bites, was like, this isn't spaghetti. And it's just, it's not. It doesn't always work. Scott has a cool question in here, brother. I'd be curious to see the way you would attack this one. How do you prevent viewer burnout from students that you're trying to engage virtually? RA training is robust. You can't really spread it out like you can some other trainings typically.
I mean, we just did a free program on how to create highly engaging programs. So Scott, you should have been there, because that would have answered all these questions.
All right, that's the rest of our time. Take care, everybody.
Yeah, goodbye. So let me give one tip that we've discovered in the process, and so I'll say the one tip is that the hands need to be engaged somehow, some way in the program. Because once these aren't engaged and they're down here, they're much more likely to go to their phone. They're much more likely to go to another website. And so what we're doing is we're constantly figuring out ways to be able to constantly bring these hands into the picture. So whether it's answering a poll, whether it's going and finding something physically and holding up the camera, whether it's waving their hands like this or doing like a finger dance across the screen, whatever it is, we're getting them to engage with their hands or to clap for people. We're going like this versus, like, because you can't hear it. So we give this type of clap. So much of it is how do you get the hands involved?
Yeah, I love it. And that's why your favorite participants are Italians. I love it. Tom, thank you so much for coming through and hanging out with me at the diner. Thanks for being the first guest to eat a full meal in the diner as well. I mean, really soup to nuts, and by nuts I mean whipped cream and strawberries.
Let's finish this off properly.
Yeah, no, this is perfect. This is everything I wanted it to be. Tom, thank you so much, y'all. Make sure that you're keeping in touch. Make sure that you keep it in touch with Tom, various places, swiftkick.hq.com. Obviously, also, this is where you can find him on social media as well. And that is his, that's his screen name. Take a screenshot of that so you know how to spell it. Tom, thank you so much for coming through, brother. It means the world.
James, I appreciate you hosting the Diner Talk and allowing me to be a guest in it. I'm looking forward to part 2 when we're actually in a diner.
That's happening.
And making this happen, and we share a meal and break some bread together, because you are one of those people I consider in that the inner group there, that I will always keep close to me, because I appreciate our conversations and I appreciate you as a human as well.
Yeah, thank you, brother. I got nothing but love for you, man. As you know, I look up to you, but I also just love our friendship. So thank you for being there for me in all those badass ways as a fellow man. I appreciate you.
Cheers.
Y'all clap it out. Clap it out for Tom. Thank you so much for coming through to the Diner. Y'all, I appreciate you all for tuning in to this week's Diner Talks with Tom Krieglstein. It was episode number 11, and it was really special. Some really cool book recommendations in there. A lot of things to think about as well. A lot of great nuggets of things that we can start to apply in our own lives right now, whether it's journaling, whether it is seeking out and not always focusing on what, but making sure we're getting past what into why. Some really cool things to think about. Thank you, Tom, for having a little bit of a meal with me here in the Diner. And thank you all for kicking it with me on another episode of Diner Talks with James. Come back next week, 9 o'clock Eastern, every single week with a new badass guest, with some new badass stories, and no food yet. Well, except for Tom. He kind of ruined that. But I'm so excited that you all were here. Until then, enjoy your long weekend if you have one. Keep asking questions and keep being in the moment with each other, y'all. I appreciate you. Take care.